Hey, hello, this is Professor Game, where we interview successful practitioners of games, gamification, and game thinking who bring us the best of their experiences to get ideas, insights, and inspiration to help us in the process of getting students to learn what we teach. And I'm Rob Alvarez. I work at IE Business School Publishing, where we create interactive and engaging learning materials. So, hello, engagers, and here we are back again with Tony Chan. Did I get that last name right, Tony?
Yep. Some people say Chang with the G, but it's Chan with it's just CHAN.
That's cool. So Tony Chan is the host and creator of the GameDev Loadout. He has interviewed over 70 game industry professionals to empower his listeners with the motivation and tactics for a successful game development career. He led a team of 3 to create and publish a mobile game called Finding Leo. And who's Leo? Well, he is a 2-year-old dog named Leo who is hyperactive, and Tony owns him. And he also has a wife, a 6-month baby girl, and lots of stuff going on in his life. So Tony, are you ready to engage?
Yes, I am. Let's do this.
Good stuff, Tony. So let's get started with a very simple and very typical question, which is, how does a regular day with Tony look like?
So I'm a really productive guy. So the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I write in my journal to plan out my day and confirm my affirmations. So I know what I need to do for the day, and just remember that I got stuff to do and I'm grateful in life. And then, of course, I got to eat breakfast to get that energy. And then I work on podcasting, which is what Rob just mentioned on GameDev Loadout, where I either find new guests, edit the audio, market it on social media, etc. Usually my wife hands me the baby afterwards, and so I have to watch her. And it's really hard to do anything when you have a kid. So I really suggest, if you're trying to do a lot of stuff, just hold off on that. So when I take care of my baby, I just usually read her a book or just play toys with her. It was great. It's I'm reading a book called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason, who's the editor at Kotaku, and I highly recommend it if you want to learn more of what companies go through when they're making games like crunch times and layoffs. And then I end the day off. Well, I exercise as well. I think health is really important, and I want to live a long, healthy life, and so I exercise for an hour each weekday, I should say. And then I finish off by writing in my journal of the things I completed and what I do, and I go to sleep. Yeah.
Sounds like a very well-rounded experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's all about being productive and being ready for the next days.
Absolutely. So now we want to get a bit deeper into your story, Tony. We love stories here, and we love learning from our guests what their experiences have been like. And I want you to tell us the story of the worst application of game development that you've participated in. And we want to know where you've participated, and not just seen from the outside, because we want to know the real story, the raw stuff, the deep stuff. If it has anything to do with a company you don't want to name, please feel free to not name the company. But we really want to get into the story, and we want to go into the key learnings from that. So take it away.
So here's the thing. I always want to be a game developer, and the problem is that when I got to college and I went to computer programming, I absolutely sucked at it. And I tried learning Python, I tried learning C++, C#, and I just couldn't get a handle on it. And so, right then and there, my dream to join the game industry just ended because I felt like I was a failure. I couldn't do nothing, and I sucked at art too. So I knew that I wasn't gonna be an artist, and so I just eventually got a market researching job. And after 3 years of doing that, I felt unfulfilled. I just felt sad. I wasn't doing anything. And I read the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and it gave me the motivation to live a happy life, a life that I want to live. And it taught me about outsourcing, which I never thought of before, but it's extremely easy to do. So when I learned about outsourcing, I immediately hired a programmer and artist to work on the game called Finding Leo. And I think that's probably maybe the worst mistake, or just the hardest challenge I had to face, because I hired people in the Middle East to help me work on the game, and so communication was extremely tough. I didn't know how to work on a game, and I was already hiring people to help me develop a game. So I didn't have no game design document. I didn't have a well thought out scope in order to make the game. Like I didn't have no deadlines or milestones, so I came in making this game and spending money on it with no kind of plan in place. And so that was a huge mistake on my part. And I spent, and of course, when you have a wife and that's want to go out all the time or do this and that, she got mad at me for like spending money, so it was like a financial problem as well. So I think I spent at least 3K on making Finding Leo, and it took over a year back and forth with the developer and artist to make this game. And it's tough, like making a game, even a small mobile game can be extremely tough to make. So just managing a team overseas and a time zone difference. And so like there was a few days where I stayed up past midnight to talk with my developers to make this game. And of course I got work the next day. And so I was like extremely tired to do my regular work. Like when my coworker used to videotape me falling asleep during work because I was just so tired. So that's how I was. But the thing is, here's the thing. I was really committed to making this game because making a game was always my dream. It was always my dream. So I didn't want to just I didn't want to stop. Like I wanted to keep going. I wanted to make this game, and it happened. Like Finding Leo was released last October, and although it wasn't a huge success or any success at all, I felt a huge accomplishment of I was able to manage the team from overseas to make this game. And my dream was always to make a game, and I finally got a game published. And that's a great thing to say. Like not many game developers complete a game and publish it into the world, and I was able to do that. And the game that I created, like it's called Finding Leo, and it's like a hide and seek kind of game where you have to find an animal picture on the screen. And it played good, it felt good, and it just, well, to me, it was a success for me personally because I was just able to make a game. And so the biggest problem was, like I said, going in without a plan and spending money. So you don't want to do that. You want to have a scope. You want to create a game design document, is what people call it, of all the milestones, all the things you want to include in the game. And of course, you have to make sure everyone has the same vision as you, because one of the things we kept running into is like I kept wanting to add all these different features in the game. And my programmer and artists like saying that, well, we can't do this. It's just too much work, and we don't have the budget to do that. And so it was a constant battle and constant communication. But yeah, it just going in without a plan was probably the biggest mistake I did.
And looking back, Tony, I'm sure that you would have done it anyway, in the sense that you learned a lot from it and it brought you a lot of purpose to what you were doing. But looking back, what would you have done differently? What would you have done in a approach in a different manner to have either more success or to have to made the process easier for you?
One thing is, of course, to have a plan. Like always have a plan in place with a budget in mind. Because the finance part, it can be a killer. Like if you're take care of a family or something, so you want to think about your finance and how you plan to spend the money. And then you want to. One thing that I did was the communication. It has to be used like Slack or something, or Trello, because we didn't have any communication in place for the team to communicate. Like we kept just communicating on Skype, which wasn't enough, because we have to send files to each other and stuff like that. So you want to pick a software where you can easily share files and easily communicate, like Trello. And I learned that at the end. So definitely pick a software that just makes communication much, much easier, where you can share files and talk to each other. Yeah, having finance in place.
Did you ever consider starting by making that game without technology? How would it have worked somehow? Was there something you could do without, like, I don't know, like a sort of a board game or something similar?
No, I don't think I ever thought. Like I just wanted to make a game, so I just went all in for it, and that's a mistake. Like I let my excitement get the best of me, and I just didn't plan. And another thing is, do not add too many features. Pick a feature, get it tested, get feedback, because I didn't do that. Like I didn't when I picked a feature, I just went all in on it. But the best way to do it is to get user feedback. So one thing I suggest is when you have an idea, create a prototype, go to local communities or go to game jams or stuff like that to get it tested and see if it works. Yeah. And once you find an idea that works, then you could develop for it. So definitely user testing is important.
Amazing. That's amazing. And engagers, always keep in mind, especially since you will probably be using it in your classrooms or in your educational programs, that you have to think about it, and you have to, you even if you're going to make something huge and you're going to make it for your whole course, you probably want to start small. You want to check something out and see if it's working, test it out with your students, see if it's, as Tony was saying, if it's relevant for them, and see how it can help them in their learning. So the thing that I would like to take away from this, Tony, is actually testing it with your audience, with the people you're going to use it with. And in the case of education, it could be with your learners, it could be with your clients if you're teaching this to some clients, and see if it's working. Maybe test it out. Maybe do some market research on how they behave. What is it that you want them to do, and test out things, see how it goes, and then dive into it a bit deeper.
Yeah, you never want to make a game and never get it user tested, because if you make a game and you actually complete it and publish it, but you never got to test it to see if the audience like it or not, you're taking a huge risk that people are just not going to like it in general and or go past it. So that's what happened with Finding Leo. Actually, I didn't market it, or I didn't get a user tested as much as I should have, and I think it just fell out in the market. And not only that, making mobile game, it's hard to get discovered, but in the end, you just want to build up that audience for your game and get user feedback and get it tested, so you know what works and what grabs people's attention.
Exactly. And Tony, now we want to shift to another story, a very different one, and we would like to know what's the biggest challenge that you've faced in game development and actually gone through it with a lot of success, with the success that you feel was what you were expecting from it. Tell us that story, how you faced that challenge and what you did.
Yeah, I believe Finding Leo was still my success, even though it failed when I launched it. And it's because I did something I love. Like, I had passion for it. I really love. Remember, originally I didn't think I could make a game, and here I am with no programming skills, no art skills, and I was able to release a game. Like I led a team of 3 to make this game happen. So I think, like, if you're really passionate about it, and you just got to do things. Like, I've been doing a lot of shift in my life. Like, for example, to be more productive, like I did a lot of things, and as in I stopped playing games as much. Like, I don't play video games as much anymore. I don't hang out with my friends as much anymore. And like, I'm reading a ton of books now to just self-improve. And so you have to make changes and sacrifice if you want to get something you're passionate about it done, to me. So that's how I was able to get Finding Leo done. That's how I was able to get the podcasting done. Like, all the money that I've been saving from not going out anymore, I invested in myself to make something I love. And so, like, right now, the podcast, I got over 70 interviews with amazing guests, such as Rob too. I just interviewed him. So, so I've been able to network with so many amazing people, and that's because I invested. And if you're into games or in gamification as well, you want to go to this conference to network with people. Like, that's the best thing you could do, is network with other people and build that meaningful relationship. And I recently went to the Austin Game Conference, and it ignited my excitement for the game industry. Like, I wanted to join the game industry even more, and that's why, like, right now I'm in the process of working on my resume and cover letter to go join Austin and join the game industry over there. And one of the people I interview is helping me make my resume and cover letter. So see, right there is the networking is already paying off. And so I'm making a name for myself out there doing podcasting. I have credibility that I know how to manage a team, at least finish and publish a game. So I'm like building myself up.
That's the thing. Super cool. That's super cool. Yeah. And that's what I would take from that story is you never know if you start on a path and you make up your mind and you say, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get through this to my classroom, and you stick to it. And you, of course, if you're going to get something new into your classroom, there's probably something that has to go, or there's some things that you have to change. So that's, in a way, the sacrifices that I would see that Tony was mentioning. You want to change something, you try to go with it, you test it out, and it's going to take you through a path, and you're going to have, even if nothing else, you're going to learn something new, and you're going to learn what didn't work. So you're going to be able to test some other thing and see what works. And that's the fundamental thing I would like to take from that story. Test out have your ideas, test them out, go through with them, and it's gonna take you somewhere. You're going, and if it's something that you're passionate about, for sure. I mean, with many of the engagers, I'm sure that you've been passionate about video games and the video game industry, and you want to implement a gamification in your classroom because of that, because you think games can make a difference in people's lives. So stick to it. Think about it, read about it, make some even the small sacrifices count, so that you can get through with your project and get into your classroom, and you'll see amazing results with your students.
Yeah, and do not give up. Like if you change your perspective on how failures actually improve you instead of like giving up, it just makes you a better person. Like you want to keep improving, you want to keep iterating on your progress and make it better and better each time. So yeah, failures is just a part of the process. So see that as a learning experience and not as like a discouragement or something to give up.
Just like in games, I mean, if you lose life, it's just that you lose a life, you get another one, you respawn, and you get back, and now you know how to go through that level, or you have a better idea of what not to do, and you test something new until you find it, and you're going to be successful. You're gonna beat the boss of that level, and you're gonna go to the next level, and you'll find new challenges, new interesting things that are gonna keep you engaged into your journey. So thanks a lot for that, Tony. That was a very interesting story. And I would like to know if you have any process that you follow when you develop a game, when you develop Finding Leo, or if you were going to develop a new game. Do you have any process that you would say you follow for creating a game?
Yeah, definitely. I always want to start small. So when I'm making my second game, which I plan to do soon, is just think of a small idea. Think of something that I really enjoyed having fun and making that into like a mini game or a small game. And so once I find that game, I'll create a GDD, a game design document that will have everything that I want in the game. And just keep it at that. Like I don't want to add too many features. Just focus on one main feature and have, I guess, all the mechanics towards that main feature. And so a GDD, and then I will get some feedback from my mentors or just people in general. Say, hey, what do you think about this idea? How does it look on paper? Like, that's the thing. You don't even have to create a video game prototype in order to get feedback on it. You could create like a paper of the game that you're thinking about and get feedback on that. So you don't have to spend money. You just show people early on what you're trying to do. And so I would definitely get user feedback. And once I get like the okay from my mentors or from people, like what they really enjoy, what they like, then I start creating a game, hiring the right people. And that's another tough thing of finding the right people. Because, I hear stories of people bailing out or people not having the same vision. Like when you hire someone, it has to be the right person. And that takes time as well. You're going to have to fire people or you're going to have to work with other people. So that just takes time until you find the right person. So I go out there, find the right person, and just start working on the game, keep on getting user feedback and improving on it. And then marketing is definitely important. So I would always not every day, but like I guess every week I would post something about my game, my progress, just like to tease the audience of the game or to give them an update of what I'm doing, so they never lose sight. I guess what was the word? Like I think out of sight, out of mind, or something like that. Like if they don't see it often enough, they're gonna forget about it. And so marketing is really important in video games. Like even if you make the best game in the world, if no one knows about it, you're not gonna make any money or get attention on it. So I would definitely market my game early on, and just once it's done, I release it, market it, launch it, tell everybody about the game that it's out, and and hope for the best.
That's it. That's an interesting way. It's a very good way to see it. Start small. Start with something small, as we were talking about before. Test it with your audience, with your learners. See how it's working, improve on that, and then you can build up on that and have it in future lives, in future respawnings. And in the classroom, it's very easy. In a way, because you have a classroom this year or this period or this trimester, and the next period you'll have another class, so you can test it again with new people, or you're gonna have a new cohort of people coming into your class, and you'll be able to test new things and to be making sure that you're improving all the time your project, your idea, your hopefully gamification in your educational setting.
Oh, one story I do want to mention, like, it's not really gamification, but games. It actually taught me how to read. Like, I was a bad reader back in second grade. Like, I did not know how to read for some reason from a book, and so Final Fantasy VII changed all that. Like, Final Fantasy VII is, it's a JRPG that has a ton of dialogue, and so I read like every word one by one, and that game taught me how to read. And so, yeah, I just want to point that out there. Like, it's just games have a huge positive impact on me and the world as well. So it's something that I really like to encourage.
I saw. I'm from Latin America, so I'm originally a Spanish speaker, and especially in Latin America, not so much here in Spain, but people. There was this meme of a guy saying with a video game controller in his hand, showing it and saying, teaching people how to speak English better than any English teacher since the 80s. And it's actually true. I mean, I have friends who literally never had English classes, and they have an amazing level of English, and they only learned it through using video games. So there's an absolute, completely incredible impact that video games can have in our lives, and this is one of the ways that it can have an impact. So Tony, I want to go to the second part of the interview here. We're expecting quicker, more straightforward answers. Before it was all about the story. Right now, I want to get quick tips, tools, and tactics that we can use in our everyday when creating gamified experiences or games in our game-based learning for our classes. So Tony, name one best practice for game development.
User feedback. You gotta get user feedback.
Definitely, that's a fundamental. What's your favorite game?
At the moment, it was Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. My gosh, that game is amazing. So I definitely recommend playing that game if you have a Switch. If you could get a Switch.
Definitely, I've been playing Zelda since the first one. So that one I didn't get to. I didn't get to the Switch, but all the Nintendos I had, I definitely played Zelda. So a big plug for the Zelda creators.
And also,
yeah,
like Nintendo, they're so great developers. You can also gamification. I guess Brain Age would be a great game to play. I used to play that game all the time. Brain Age, have you played that?
Nope, haven't heard
or
it.
the DS, where it tracks your, I guess your mental. It's like a mental exercise where they test you in your mathematics and algebra and reading and stuff. So it made learning fun. There's Sudoku too, which is a great learning. Well, it's like a great puzzle too. So yeah,
absolutely. Tony, after having Tony Chan in Professor Game, who would you like to listen to interviewed in this podcast in Professor Game?
Man, it would be awesome if you get Shigeru Miyamoto and Nintendo. Even though he speaks Japanese, but if you get like a translator or someone to get him. Because I'm pretty sure he has a lot to say about gamification. Like, he knows about games. And so if you could get that legend on your show, that would be amazing.
Wow, that's a big shot. So we're going to go for it. Not right now, for sure. Engagers, you have to help us get a huge audience and have incredible guests. And someday, for sure, we will get that. So Nintendo, we're after you. You know that. Just living it out there in the universe. Anybody of you have any contact that can get us through to one of those guys, it's very, very welcome.
Yeah.
What book would you like to recommend to the engagers, Tony?
The One Thing by Gary Keller. That is, the one thing. It taught me how to be more productive. And so it teaches you how to focus on the one thing that brings you the most results and how to stay focused on that one thing. And so I highly recommend that book if you want to start being more productive in life.
Yeah, and I haven't read the book. I've heard about it a lot. But engagers, if you're able to focus on that main thing, it's very liberating because you realize, and there's this Pareto rule of 80-20 that 20% of what you do gets you 80% of your results. So if you're capable of actually focusing just on that 20%, and that reflects as well in your classroom. 20% of what you do in your class is what gets 80% of the learning for your students. So maybe finding out what that 20% is and focusing laser focusing on that to get a lot more for your learners to get them to learn a lot more, to get them to understand better what you're saying and getting through whatever it is you want to get through to your students. That's probably an important thing, getting that laser focus for the main things, and gamification can be one of those things that can help you in that process. What would you say is your superpower in game development, Tony?
I think right now is to me it's teaching. Like I'm a basically since I'm a podcaster, I'm a messenger of all the great people in the industry, and so I feel like my power right now is spreading the message that the game industry is just an awesome place to work in or to be a part of. There's so many great things coming out. The gamification is awesome as well. We got VR, AR, Hololens is coming out, and so there's it's just so many great things to come, and I want to just let the world know that a gaming it's a powerful medium, and it's it has a lot of positive impact as well, such as like the charity events by Extra Life or and people donating millions of dollars and thousands of dollars, and so uh, yeah, my superpower is definitely spreading the message.
That's awesome. That's very important, and that's what we try to do here as well in Professor Game. We try to learn from other people who have been there, who have done that, so that we can take it back and use it to teach whatever it is we're teaching right now. So thanks for that, Tony. Keep going it out there. We'll be towards the end. We'll be putting out your podcast, but just to give an advance, it's GameDev Loadout. I have to say I was also interviewed in that podcast, and I had a lot of fun. So be sure to keep an eye on that. And if you dig video games and creating video games, it's definitely a must listen, engagers. So Tony, we are going to have now a random question from the audience. I know you're not the typical gamification designer, but I'm sure you can try and solve this issue that somebody has in his classroom through using games. Okay, are you ready?
All right. Yep.
So here we go. This question is from Betty. She gives language classes. So she's asking about all the past tense, present tense, future tense, etc. When you're teaching it in the classroom, she feels that it can be rather boring for students. Do you have any recommendation of how you could use a game, or how you could create a game or a gamification solution to make a class about learning all the verbs in English or whatever language, something a bit more engaging, a little more exciting and fun for students?
Oh yeah, I think one game that taught me about verbs or adjective was it was a zombie game back in the days where if you type in a word, it kills the zombie. So maybe if she could think of something where players are engaging in typing the words constantly or writing down the words and killing monsters or destroying monsters for loot maybe or some kind of reward, maybe that could help uh, get them more engaged and to learn faster too. 'Cause I think the more engaged you get the players and the more fun they're having, the easier it is for them to learn, and they will want to go back and learn more and more different words. And so maybe a game where they could type out the words or the verbs or the language you're trying to teach them. And so like when they type out the words, and then it says the word through the computer, and then like I guess it processes into the student's head. So maybe yeah, just create a game where they type it out or write it down or something, and maybe that could work.
That's super cool. I actually, we were telling that those insights, and I was thinking about how I learned how to type in the computer faster. It's easy to type. You just look at the letters and you type the letter. But of course, doing it faster is a different challenge. So there was this game. It had some characters from The Lion King. I'm not sure which ones they were. I'm not sure which ones they were, but the things that you were typing, and they were running around and they were jumping the monsters and all the things that were coming up into the screen. And of course, it helps a lot because you're like not thinking about learning all the letters. You're actually doing it to do something. And when you give it a purpose, what you're learning, it makes it a lot easier. So thanks for that, Tony. That was a very, very insightful solution, a very creative idea.
Yeah, like in the zombie game, if the zombies get too closer to you, like they're slowly walking towards you. So of course, when they get closer and closer, you want to kill the zombie that's closest to you. And so when you type in that word, yeah, you save yourself from getting eaten or something. So, yeah, it just try to create something where it's just more engaging, more fun, and people they love feeling the reward when they kill something, or I should kill something, but like when they slay a monster or something, it's just rewarding to get something after that. So yeah, that could work. You could try that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And well, Tony, we're almost over, but we want to get some quick advice for listeners who have never used gamification or game-based learning for their class. What would you advise them? What would you tell them to encourage them to use it in their classes?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I think gamification it's a great way to get people involved and to teach them. Like for me, school was just absolutely boring, and so I think if they somehow gamify it, I would definitely learn much faster, much better. So I would say to definitely, when you're making a gamification, you got to get user feedback. Get it tested a lot, especially strangers. Strangers are usually the best feedback. So ask strangers to uh, what they think about your game. Um, yeah, and when you're making gamification, try to make it as social. Like people love working together. People love engaging and talking with each other. So if you're making gamification, try to make it like a teamwork or a team effort type of game. I think that's to me the best way to get people engaged in gamification.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Tony. So the last question is, how can we connect with you? Give us whatever you want, your social media or any way that we can connect with you, and then we'll say game over.
Yeah, I appreciate Rob for having me on the show. Yeah, you can check me out at GameDevLoadout.com. I'm on iTunes, Overcast, and you can check out my show notes of all the guests that I talk about because, like, I love giving out resources, valuable content that will help my listeners just to make better games in general. So, yeah, definitely you can check out my website. You could feel free to contact me at Tony at GameDevLoadout.com. I love helping people out and just giving back to the community. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to hit me up. And yeah, I'm at Twitter, at Facebook, at GameDev Loadout. So yeah, everything GameDev Loadout, you can find me. But yeah, I really appreciate you having me on the show, and I hope y'all learned something. And so one of my biggest motto is knowledge is only potential, power, execution is the game. So I'm happy that I'm out here giving this message, but I hope that you actually take action on it and do something with the information.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Tony, and we'll see you next time. It's game over.
Doon.
Hey, Engagers, thank you very much for listening to Professor Game Podcast. If you want more interviews with incredible guests like Tony Chan and lots of awesomeness from Professor Game, then go to professorgame.com/subscribe and get started into our email list. That way, we can be in contact and you will be the first to know of any opportunities that Professor Game might have for you. And before you go into your next mission, would you like to know how Monica Cornetti found out about gamification? Well, listen to the next episode of Professor Game. See you there!